in 10 years of this book being out, you've changed a lot as a leader. You've experienced a lot as a business owner. If you were to write EntreLeadership 2.0 today, what would you add to that?
EntreLeadership has always been, the material in general, and included the book, has always been our playbook. This is how Ramsey does what Ramsey does. This is who we are. This is what we do. And so I think the biggest thing that has changed since the book was written all the 10 years ago is the digital marketplace. And the way that we think about products in the digital world is a little different than you think about products in the analog world. You still have to do sales and marketing. You still have to provide value. You still have to solve a problem. You still have to scratch the itch. You still have to be entrepreneurial. But the process that you use for delivery of that product and for the design of that product and the production of that product, that digital product, this podcast being one of those, those things are different. And so, we would probably rewrite some of those chapters. I think there's probably a chapter on advertising that's completely outdated or something, but because I used to teach on direct mail and stuff like that, which basically doesn't exist hardly anymore to amount to anything. It's not a valid thing that most people use. And by the time I write the chapter on email, then it'll be irrelevant, right? So the digital landscape has moved a lot of things. Here's the good news, though: the principles that really made EntreLeadership great have not changed. Treat other people like you want to be treated, whether it's your customer, whether it's your team members. Be outrageously generous. Stay out of debt. Serve, don't sell, and the money will take care of itself. These principles are human principles and business principles that don't shift. How we get them done has changed. Digital being an example versus analog. That's not a principle. That's a how you get it done versus, how you get your marketing done is way different than it was 10 years ago.
Yeah. So some of the processes have changed just because of advancement in technology and that kind of thing. But the principles, the values that are in this book are timeless. Absolutely. So we have developed some new pieces in EntreLeadership that really aren't new to us. We've just figured out a way to put them in a framework. And one of those is the 6 drivers of business and the 5 stages of a business. Walk us through kind of how those were developed and how that interacts with the EntreLeadership material.
And that would be in the new book. I should have said that. So thanks for circling me back on that. But because that is the clear path that we've always used, but it was a little fuzzy. We didn't know how to describe it. And so we needed to give how you get there a clear set of narratives. And you need to clearly define what there is. And so the 5 stages of business were born, from treadmill to legacy builder all the way through. And we started looking at, that's the stages we went through, and that's the stages that were observable with 10, 20,000 companies we've now coached over the last 15 years or so. And so those 5 stages are very clear, and then what it means to graduate from, what you need to do, what tool you need to add to your belt to move from one stage to the next stage, to level up. And then the 6 drivers, in a sense, we had spent a lot of time talking about. We've had so much success communicating with the customer and motivating them and giving them traction with the 7 baby steps on the financial side, that we wanted baby steps for the business side, for the EntreLeadership, and they just didn't work. We couldn't figure it out because the baby steps are linear. In business, you get to baby step 7, and what do? Quit? It's not. That's not the point. And so that's how the 5 stages were born, and then the 6 drivers are circular, meaning that as you move all the way around from the personal driver, the first one, to the 6th one, profit, you start again. And so they're circular. They have a flywheel-esque feel to them, and we've spent years arguing through and wrestling these 2 concepts of stages and drivers to the ground to get it to work. And man, I got to tell you, we found it. This is the thing. As a matter of fact, just maybe a quick read, a small book could be written on exactly how the 5 stages work and how the 6 drivers work as you go through those 5 stages. Do you only spin them? Do you only spin that driver, that flywheel, 5 times? No, I think we've probably done it at least 10 times here. I can go back to milestones and go, okay, and then we got the people thing to another level, and then we got the profit thing to another, we got the product to another level, and then we got personal growth was in the way, and I had to become a different level of leader. The time I distinctly remember learning intellectually and then emotionally accepting this idea of strategic thought versus just tactically getting crap done, because I was just scrapping and clawing. And I remember making that move, and then how the business just, once I got out of the way, and everybody started going, okay, we have to do tactical, we have to get our work done, and we have to get above our work to make sure we're doing it in the most efficient way, the shortest distance between 2 points, because you can't see that when you're in the ditch, fighting and scratching and clawing. So I remember these milestones through this place, and a lot of them had to do with me being in the way. And once I would learn something and get out of the way, then we could go there. So the personal, then that spins that wheel, and you go, okay, and then that affects the product, and that affects the profit, and that affects the people, and then you get to the top, and you've got yet a larger now organization, more people, more money, more sophistication. Then you got to do it again. You got to level up again. And so I think we've spun through those 6 drivers probably about 10 times around here.
Wow. Yeah, and in hindsight is where you learned exactly what you did and why you did it. You can point back to those moments. That's really
and I've
cool.
seen it with all the people we've coached in Entre too, and our EntreLeadership coaches have verified. This is exactly what's holding that woman up, that guy up. And when they start doing that, oh, there they go. And we turned them loose. And so I'm really, really excited about the clarity that the 6 drivers are giving our audience, because it's kind of like we just sighed, we finally got it, because it was this pent-up frustration. We couldn't put a narrative to how to do it, how to visualize it. And when we finally all got that dialed in, and the team here worked really hard on it, and I love getting into that kind of stuff too, and so I was involved in it, and certainly signing off on it, because this is what happened.